Have you ever considered why we put up Christmas lights? Because of you, we have successfully crossed the 200 subscriber line. Thank you so much for your continued support. I'm so grateful. Hey, if you're like most Americans, you love Christmas lights and even taking time during December to load up the family in the car and drive around and looking at Christmas lights. If you do that, let me know by giving this video a like. Now, if you are from the awesome hometown of Camden, Arkansas, like I am, you already know this. But if you're part of the majority of people watching this video who are from somewhere else, let me tell you, growing up, my house was the house that everyone in town came to see at Christmas time. I fondly look back on all the decorations and the lights and everything at my house. On the outside, we would spend our Saturdays putting strand after strand of lights in trees and on the roof and on iron figures, everywhere really. We even had a separate breaker box just for Christmas at our house. We repaired lights, replaced lights. We would even get a scissor lift every year just so that we could reach the top of trees. On the inside, there was a tree in every single room. The mantle over the fireplace was a snowy village. And if all that wasn't enough, my dad would dress up in a custom Santa outfit and would stand out front in the driveway and would talk to people as they came to see our Christmas lights. He would even take my boombox, you remember those, right, 90s kids? And he would play Christmas music to set the mood. He would wave, he would talk to kids, he'd even pass out candy canes as a thank you for all the people who came to see our Christmas display. Now you might be thinking, was middle school and teenage Stephen embarrassed by that? I'll go ahead and say, not at all. I loved it. I even loved it when my dad took our 2 weenie dogs, got them custom elf costumes so that they could be out in the driveway with him. As you can tell, I have a lot of fond memories of Christmas. And now, with my own family, I still love Christmas and all the decorations, albeit we do it on a much smaller scale now than we did growing up. In my front yard, I have a white LED light manger scene with all the bulbs individually zip tied to the iron figures. And in the back, just for my family to see, we have a string of multicolored lights lining the back fence. Do I want to do more lights like my family did? Yes, but it takes some time to work towards that, and I need a bigger yard. But while we're here, let me ask you a question. Do you prefer white or multicolored lights? Now, some say that white is classy.
You see, the thing about classy is it's a state of mind.
And colors are fun. So, which do you prefer? Let me know in the comments below, and if you tell me why, you get bonus points. So let me know here in the comments. I really, really love and appreciate the interaction. So again, let me know, white or multicolored? Christmas lights are so ubiquitous in our society, it's almost hard to imagine a time before them. But that's the question that we're answering today. Where did our modern Christmas lights come from, and what do they symbolize? Our modern traditions start before Christmas trees were called Christmas trees, and before Christmas lights were called Christmas lights. All of this started back with the sun-worshiping pagans celebrating the festival of winter solstice. Winter solstice is a time where there is maximum dark hours and minimal daylight hours in a hemisphere. For us in the northern hemisphere in 2020, winter solstice is December 21st. After that, our days begin to get longer and longer until summer solstice on June 20th, 2021. Ancient pagans would light large bonfires outside and candles inside their homes, hoping that these lights would entice the sun to return for longer days since they were currently in deep midwinter. Now, there's a small group of Christians who hate Christmas because of the so-called pagan origins. They are out because original lights and trees were for worshiping the sun, S-U-N. Now, I understand this perspective, but I respectfully disagree with it. You don't have to throw out the baby with the proverbial bathwater. When it comes to secular culture, Christians have 3 options. We can receive it how it is, we can reject it completely, or we can redeem it for God-glorifying purposes. That's what the church originally did when former sun worshipers began coming to Christ. They redeemed it. There was a culture that had traditions and festivals. So when these people came to Christ, they still lit candles and they still had fires, except this time not to entice the S-U-N to come, but so we could celebrate the S-O-N that had already come and brought his light to the world. This often happens in mission work around the world. Missionaries use parts of the indigenous culture that have parallels to Christianity as a bridge to share the good news of Jesus, the gospel. Are there things that we can wholly accept and receive from our secular culture? Yes. Are there things that we must wholly reject from secular culture? Yes. Are there things that we can redeem from secular culture by making changes to it? You bet. And that's what these former pagan Jesus followers were doing with those original Christmas trees and Christmas lights. So let's keep following our timeline. Wanting to reconnect to this Christianized tradition, upper-class Protestant Germans wanted to light their Christmas trees with candles in the 1700s. Now, obviously, this is quite the fire hazard. So these candles would be carefully placed on the tree, quickly lit, and then extinguished after enjoyment that only lasted a minute or two. Seriously, it was that fast. Nobody wanted to burn their house down. So it was light the candles, everyone ooh and ah, and then it was time to blow them out. Now fast forward to Vice President of Edison Electric Light Company, Edward Johnson. In 1882, he invented red, white, and blue electric lights on a string and displayed them in his home. Electric Christmas lights were born, but they were expensive. In 1895, U.S. President Grover Cleveland had the first electrically lit Christmas tree in the White House. It would still be over 25 more years before General Electric could begin selling inexpensive stringed lights to the public en masse, leading us to where we are 100 years later. But what do they symbolize? Our Christmas lights, no matter how forgotten it may be, symbolize the light of Christ. In John 1, John mentions the word light 7 times in 5 verses. He wrote this: the Word, talking about Jesus, gave life to everything that was created, and His life brought light to everyone. The light shines in the darkness, and the darkness can never extinguish it. God sent a man, John the Baptist, to tell about the light so that everyone might believe because of his testimony. John himself was not the light. He was simply a witness to tell about the light. The one who is the true light, who gives light to everyone, was coming into the world. Our lights, the one in my front yard, the ones in your living room, the ones at Rockefeller Center, and the ones in the White House, they all point to the light of the world. That's what Jesus called himself in John 8. He said, I'm the light of the world. If you follow me, you won't have to walk in darkness because you have the light that leads to life. So what should we do with this? We should explain it. The reason this meaning is lost to our culture is because no one's saying it. So say it. Talk to your kids about it when you're out looking at lights. Post about it when you put the photo of your tree on social media. Bring it up at Christmas dinner. Mention it over coffee as you talk with friends. As a society that is rapidly becoming post-Christian, we are swimming in a forgotten ocean of things that were designed to point us to Christ, but we've collectively forgotten them. Why? Because we, as a culture, have stopped talking about them. So don't be silent. Speak up. This generation needs you to talk about Christ. You are not a third-string player in the mission of spreading the good news of Jesus. You're a part of the A-team. So use whatever bridge that you need to talk about Christ, even if it's Edward Johnson's Christmas lights. Hey, I hope you're encouraged by this video. If you were, would you consider sharing it? And subscribe so that you can catch the next one when it comes out 2 days later on Thursday. See you next time. Grace and peace. Okay, so you're still here. I'm going to give you something special. Do you remember back on CDs, back in the day, there'd be like a hidden track on the album? Well, this is kind of what this is. My favorite story of my dad dressed up as Santa Claus was one day he was going to go and surprise my friends John and David at their house dressed as Santa. So he kind of wanted to get the drop on them. So he parked his truck down the street, got out, walked down the sidewalk as Santa. Well, right before he gets to their house, a big dog comes out and starts chasing him. So he runs from next door to their house all the way down the street as Santa Claus at top speed, trying not to get mauled by this dog. To this day, I still think about that. Think about how funny it would have been to see a grown Santa Claus running away from a vicious dog. Well, there you go. There's the hidden track. Thanks for sticking around. We love you, and we'll catch you next time.